it should always be the land of the Jewish people. I think it's the indigenous homeland and the holy land of our people, and it needs to be ours forever. There's no doubt or question about that, period. And any Jew who wants to go visit Israel and any Jew who wants to live there should be able to.
What is home? Yes, we have our homeland Israel, and yes, we have homes throughout the diaspora. But our current reality is complex. Israel's at war, and anti-Semitism is rising around the world. So what does that mean for us? What does that mean for this question of home? Join me, Izzy, as I speak with Israeli and diaspora Jewry to better understand this new complex reality and unpack where we put ourselves in this physical and spiritual war. This is the My Israel Narrative podcast. Okay, everyone, so today we're doing something fun. This is a conversation that's been in the works for, I want to say years, honestly. Like, I feel like we've had many conversations as friends, and then we've had many conversations where we're also like, wow, we should have recorded that. Mm-hmm. And so now we're really just we're just going to hash it out a little bit. Nothing scripted.
No answers.
Esther is definitely one of my friends that holds, I think, the most knowledge just about politics, Israel, what's going on. Very strong in her will and her opinions, not afraid to say the right thing or what she thinks is the right thing, and always a good sounding board. So we're kind of just gonna like read through the comments and react and see what comes out of it in the conversation.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, you want to read it?
Wait, what's the original video that they're commenting on?
Okay, so this was a video we posted about YY Jacobson. The truth of the matter is the video was an interview where I was just kind of asking him, like, how do we as Jews understand where we're supposed to be right now? Are we supposed to be in America? Are we supposed to be in Israel? Like, do we look at Jewish history and say, wow, yeah, we've been pushed out a million times over. Basically, every time we've settled somewhere for the past 2,000 years, we've had to leave. And today, we're facing this, literally the exact same rhetoric that we faced a million times before. But the difference is we have the modern state of Israel. So my conversation and my questions are constantly, okay, if that's the case, so today, should we be taking this reality and saying, Yallah, like, let's go home? Mm-hmm. So we had a conversation about that. And the truth of the matter is, I think at the time of the interview, I wasn't as strong in in asking that question outright. So it came up kind of like in passing, but he did call the video, should all Jews be making Aliyah? So it got a lot of attention.
And what was his bottom line? That should all Jews be making Aliyah?
So he didn't, the truth is we didn't, and he didn't address the question head on. I didn't ask the question head on, and he didn't give an answer to that question head on. His, and I think, and I hope I'm speaking correctly, but I encourage everyone to watch the full video, mm-hmm. is that his, what we call like hashkafa, like his outlook, his Jewish outlook, is that we should be doing our job wherever it is we are as a Jew. And if right now you find yourself in Chosar, you find yourself in the diaspora, so you should be doing your job there. Bring light, do the right thing, stand up for the right thing. And yes, that ultimately Israel is the place, that's the place if you can live there. So that's where we live at, and we are our best selves. You have a beautiful analogy about that being the roots of a Jew and of our soul, and that we just are our best when we're there versus in other places. But he didn't outright say that we should be picking up and going. So people had a lot to say about the interview.
Okay, let's dig into it. Okay. I want to see what people had to say.
Okay, you want to read this one?
Yeah, okay.
You can read it as much as so it's a long comment.
Okay, so. I made Aliyah. There is no purpose for any Jews to remain in Chutz La'aretz, which is out of Israel. Hashem opened up the gates in 1948. Maybe before 1948, we can say we were forced into exile, but no longer. If the Jews would return, instead of investing in the infrastructure of Chutz La'aretz, which is out of Israel, our country will become like no other. Moshiach could come. Instead of saying we will come when Moshiach comes, our actions would usher in the Geulah, which is the redemption. Hashem took us out of Egypt to bring us into Eretz Israel. Jews around the world have to start contemplating and realizing living outside of Israel is not sustainable for much longer. If we believe what Hashem told us, then it's time to build up our own country instead of the countries of the world that detest us. Come home.
flower emoji.
Yeah, flower emoji.
It got 60 likes for the record.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to unpack here. There's so much to talk about. There's so much to think about. I mean, how do you say something like this to people who aren't ready to move to Israel? Like moving to Israel, it's a beautiful concept, and it's something that I relate to personally, especially because I grew up there, and most of my family's from there, where we identify as Israeli. I speak fluent Hebrew, and it's eventually where I want to go back to. But how can you say this to people who aren't ready to be in that place, who don't speak Hebrew, who don't know the culture, who have full lives here, their families are here, their jobs are here, their livelihood is here? How can you just tell them, okay, get up and leave? Like it's not as simple as it sounds. And obviously it's a beautiful concept, and it's something that I don't know if we should all strive to live in Israel. I don't have the answer to that. But I also think that if somebody's saying everyone needs to come home, it's not so clear cut. I mean, if you look at it from a purely like religious point of view, from a religious point of view, I don't know what the religious point of view is on that. And I think it's very divided. But if you look at it as from a purely like human perspective, a Jewish perspective, I don't know if it's so clear cut. If people can just say that and throw it out into the air.
Sure. I mean, I think, okay, there's the element of practicality, I think is what we're touching on a little bit here. And like practical on many levels, physically, emotionally, mentally, all of these elements. I think what always comes up in my mind is like, okay, fine. Maybe you've never thought of Israel. And I try not to think of it as a place to run to. And I've brought that up many times before, like that it shouldn't be this like escape haven, safe haven, whatever you want to call it. But as I hear you saying that, the thing that does jump out for me, so I'll say it, is like, okay, it's not convenient, it's not all these things, but are we going to get to a point, unfortunately, where like convenience or not, it's time to go, like it's happening in the times before. So that's where, like, for me, it's this conversation of, so how do we awaken, if that's the case that so many people maybe don't feel a connection, don't feel like it's the right thing for them right now, how do we awaken that and create the connection? Should we be trying to create the connection so that it doesn't come to a point where we have to pick up?
Well, I think you have to first of all think about what you're saying, because what does that mean? It's time to go. What does that mean? Does it mean that the U.S. is, or wherever you live around the world, does it mean it's too dangerous and that means that you're only going to be safe in Israel? Who says you're going to be safe in Israel? You're not going to be safe in Israel. Right. There are terrorist attacks every day. From
an idealistic perspective,
idealistic, but like if you're thinking about it from a place of safety, I personally connect to that less because I grew up in Israel. I know what it's like to have terrorism on your doorstep. It's not a form of safety. Going to Israel is not a form of safety, and it's not how I personally see it. So I think that's one piece that you have to define. Like, what does that mean? Okay, it's time. Why is it time?
Right.
Like, is it spiritual? Is it physical? Is it political? Like, where's that coming from? Right? Like, that's the first thing. And then also the second thing, you spoke about like the comfort element or like the discomfort element. I think that it's more than just a discomfort, or it's more than just go to Israel. We know it's not like comfortable for you, but do it anyways.
Right.
It's more than that. There's also, you have to take into account that people live, within their communities. And even though Israel has a beautiful, thriving, incredible community, and it's a Jewish state, it might not be right for every single person. They might not fit into that type of community, and it might not be the way that they thrive in their own personal life. So even though it's not, you can get a job in Israel and you can do well in Israel and you have to work hard and you can make it, but it might not be where a person finds their fullest potential at that very moment. Right? Like at that specific point in time in their life. So I don't know if it's so like clear cut, even though like personally it's my, I want to go back to Israel eventually and I want to live there. And I understand in my soul and in my heart that Israel is my home and it's my soul. Israel is my soul. It's everything that I am. But I also have to like put it into perspective and understand that there are certain people that it doesn't fit into that same narrative as them. You know?
Yeah.
From a spiritual perspective, it's like, it sounds like it's easy. Like, okay, it's the most spiritual place, go to Israel. Fine. But not everyone is in that place. Not everyone is religious. Not every Jew connects to Israel from a religious point of view. So you have to also think about how people relate to Israel on their level. You know, even though I'm a religious Zionist, I'm also a political Zionist, I'm every kind of Zionist, but I also understand that there are certain Jews that this is their homeland too, but they don't fit into that box. They don't fit into that narrative. So you have to think, I think there's something here that's like, I don't know, I can't, it's not so clear cut. It's just not clear cut.
I agree. Like, I think it's come up in a lot of conversations. I'm a religious Jew, a religious Zionist, I guess. I never really like think about what I call myself. Mm-hmm. But yes, I feel very connected to being a Jew and very connected to Israel. I think the two are inextricably connected. So a lot of my rhetoric and dialogue around this topic does usually lead back to, I think, a religious undertone. But I understand that that's limiting. So I also have this frustration of like, okay, yeah, there's something else. Like, what is the else? And like, speaking to people, religious or not, and I brought this up before, I do see that people just have this like intrinsic connection. Not always. It's not clear cut. And even religious Jews that don't feel an intrinsic, and I'm not talking about your extremist religious Jews. I'm talking about like mainstream, middle of the road religious Jews that don't necessarily feel connected to Israel. All that's okay. But for the by and large Jewish people, when they go to Israel, when they've had experiences in Israel, be it birthright or what have you, mm-hmm. they feel something. Mm-hmm. So it's like, then we talk about it from this very like high level esoteric place. Yes, because it's our homeland, because it's the place we're supposed to be. It's like, what does that practically mean? Like right. For me, it bothers me that we talk about it in that way, and then we go about our lives everywhere else. So like, but we know we feel the best there. We know we feel like this light when we're there. This connection.
It's not, I don't think it's about feeling the best. First of all, it's also very different when you live there full time versus when you're visiting.
True.
I've lived there full time a few times throughout my life, and it's my home. I love it. It's my place. But I live in the US right now because it's what's right for me at this moment. But it's not necessarily where like you feel the most good, because it's really hard. It's really hard to make it in Israel. Good.
That's what I'm talking about. Like when I live there,
the best. You said that it's where we feel best, right?
It's where you feel the most, I think, purposeful. Maybe I'll take back my words, because
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true, because the work that I do here for Israel can be more purposeful than what I do in Israel while I'm there. So I don't know if that's true. I think Israel itself, it sounds like you're saying you can't separate the esoteric part of Israel from Israel, because it's the Holy Land. Like,
what do you mean by esoteric?
The spiritual essence of it. I know before I said that like some people are not in that place, but if you look at it from like a purely traditional point of view, okay, let's not get into religion. Any person who goes to Israel, there is something that you feel in the air that's like, it's untangible, and it's like something that takes you to another level, right? Yeah. We can agree on that.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I don't have an answer, but if you go to Israel and you just land there, you meet the people, you see the land, you don't even get into the history, you don't get into anything else, you just place your feet in that place, you feel something different. There's something different in the air.
Right.
With that being said, my grandparents were Holocaust survivors. And the fact that they had a place to go after the Holocaust, it also means something. So
they went straight to Israel.
They did not go straight to Israel. My grandparents survived. My grandmother survived Auschwitz and Bergen-Belsen. And my grandfather was in the ghetto, in Warsaw Ghetto. And then he fought with the Partizanim in the...
What is that exactly?
With the Polish rebels in the forest.
Wow.
Which they hated Jews too, but he fought with them. And they didn't know he was Jewish. He had to hide the fact that he was Jewish. But they also, after the Holocaust, they had to heal a little bit in Europe. Like, it took them time to heal. And my grandmother had pneumonia. My grandfather lost his leg. They had to cut his leg and all this stuff. So they had to recover. But eventually they came to Israel, and Israel was a safe haven for them because they were in an environment that they knew that they were with other Jews that were like them. And that also means something. It's less about safety, and it's more about being with your people, feeling like there is an anchor for your people, for the connection that you have to your soul, to yourself, to your heritage, to who we are as a nation. Like, fine, we'll get into like a little bit of the biblical aspect, but like the fact that in the Bible you see generations and generations and generations of Jews who have come back and forth and are indigenous to the land of Israel, like, that means something. That's an anchor. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's not about safety. It's more about like the anchor of who we are and our identity of who we are as Jews. Right. And our community, our international community of Jews. That's why you can go to Israel and you can leave and you can come back and you can live there and then you can leave, but it's always going to be your anchor. Like, no matter what, it's always going to be there because it represents your heritage, your soul, your people. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's, I don't know, it goes beyond just the safety element for me.
100%. I mean, I think it has to go beyond the safety element. I think that's the piece I'm still toying with, though. I'm very hung up on this history piece. Like,
okay, tell me more.
We've been, first of all, from the side of, we've been praying for Israel for thousands of years. Our ancestors, right? You said yourself, like, your grandparents, like, they had a place to go. Finally, many people after the Holocaust. That's not, like, contrary to what a lot of people like to believe. It's not why the state of Israel was created. It was, right. It was just a byproduct of what was happening at the time. But first of all, Israel was always ours. It was just, anyways, now we have it. And it's almost like I see it as like, we're saying all these things, right? Like, it's like an anchor and whatever. Fine, put safety aside. But now we have this place that we feel is our anchor, is always ours, was always there. We were always praying for. But like, we're just like, no, like, I'll come, like you're just there as my anchor, like my, like, safety blanket. Not safety from the sense of like, I will be safe here versus here. Even though I personally happen to feel safer there than I do here. There as in Israel versus America, New York, what have you. But like, you know what I mean? Like, we like keep it as like the safety blanket. Like, a lot of people we speak to today are like, why do you think we need Israel? Well, because, if everywhere else goes, out the window, that's where I'm going to go.
That makes no sense to me. Because you're not going to be, if someone's dropping a bomb on you, if someone wants to kill Jews, they're going to find Jews in Israel too. Like, then it's going to make it easier for them to kill us. Because they're concentrated in one place. I don't connect to that. But what I do connect with is the fact that we're indigenous to that land. It's been in our generation. It's been our history for generations and generations and generations. Like, my great grandparents, my ancestors, that was their indigenous homeland. Every other people in the world that are indigenous to a land, they get the opportunity to self-determination within that land, right? Why for us can't we have that same opportunity? Why for us does it have to be different? And our land happens to be a holy land. Like, the land itself, if you want to go into the spiritual stuff, right, into the religious stuff, it's also a holy place. So there is value in it. But like, just from a historical point of view, just from like my ancestors, my great grandparents, or my biblical ancestors, this is our homeland. This is the land of the Jewish people. We're indigenous to it.
That creates the anchor.
I don't know if it's the only thing. I don't think it's the only thing. I think what creates the anchor is a bunch of things together. It's the fact that it's the indigenous land of the Jewish people. It's the fact that it's a holy place where we can reconnect to, you know, our spirituality, our values, our whatever. And it's a place where we get that sense of community, that sense of connecting with our people. I have to keep like bringing it back to that, because it's our people. You go to Israel, and you know that every single person that you meet, it's just different. Somebody falls on the floor in Israel, there's 5 people who are there to help them get up, because we understand that there is a unity, there's something that connects us, and Israel is that like platform to hold that. Now, with that being said, there is a rift, right? There are rifts, there are divides, there are, you know, we're not always united. But the general foundation of what Israel is and what it represents us as a people, as Jews.
And when it comes down to it, we all find our way back to each other. When push comes to shove.
Exactly. We do find our way back.
Like,
sometimes it takes longer, but
for a bigger wake up call. But
yeah,
I want to read something I read. It was posted by Jew in the City, Allison, who follows. She posts some amazing stuff, and she wrote an article about when somebody asked. I mean, there's a whole backstory to it, but just for the purpose of this, like when someone asks like where she's from, she's always had like a little bit of identity crisis.
Judea? My kind of girl.
Well, she said. So, which is why I no longer say I'm from Ukraine or Russia or the places that tortured my ancestors and yours. I grew up knowing the Hebrew words Ashkenazi, which are Jew exiled to Europe, and Sephardi, which is Jew exiled to Spain, which we've subsequently been pushed out of both of those places. But I didn't grow up knowing the word for the Hebrew word for Jew, Yehudi, for Yehuda, Judea, our ancestral homeland. I recently realized that the 2 main exile countries we renamed ourselves according to, Sepharad, Spain, and Ashkenaz, Germany, are the 2 places that did the most atrocious and violent things to their Jews. Maybe we just need to be Yehudim again. Maybe we need to say Israel when people ask us where we're from, and put less focus on where we got exiled to. Maybe we should be checking off the Middle Eastern box when it gets on the census. I know I will be.
Listen, there's something that's very powerful about what she's saying, but there's also an element here where I don't agree with, because I think that the world has pushed us out so many times throughout history, pogroms, Shoah, the Holocaust, and we've been kicked out of so many places. And like, why can't we be Jewish American, Jewish Russian, Jewish French, Jewish whatever, if we're allowing ourselves, or this is just like the thoughts that come to my head, but it's not an answer, right? It's just like thoughts, okay?
Yeah, we're just speaking from the heart.
If we allow people or ourselves to say, I don't belong in any of these places, you're kind of like doing the job for these people who want us kicked out of everywhere else.
But it's always okay. But like, I don't know what's doing the job. Why do we have to look at it that way? I'm not thinking of like stripping my. Let's say I don't want to say I'm Sephardi anymore. I'm not thinking of as much of like I'm stripping away that part of me. I'm saying just the part that is most central to me, that is holistically me, is the Jewish part. Why put the emphasis on the?
So say
the
you're
external?
Jewish. Why do you have to say like I'm Israeli? You're not Israeli. You didn't grow up in Israel.
But Israel is Judea. I mean, they were just saying that that's the word comes from the same place.
And it's your homeland. There's no arguing with that. There's no arguing.
The name and the place are the same name. It's the same thing. Why are we distinguishing?
Well, yes. Judea is the Jewish homeland, right?
Yeah.
The Jewish homeland and the indigenous land of the Jewish people. But I don't think you have to negate one part to make the other part true.
Again, not negating, just emphasizing. For example, if somebody asks you today, where are you from? Right? You will say Israel. I also now, I'm not from there.
Well, I won't say I'm from Israel. I usually say I grew up in Israel and I grew up here too. That's what I say. Right. I don't say, it's like, it's a problem, but.
No, it's not, it's not a problem.
It's an identity.
Let's take someone who wasn't born in Israel, never lived in Israel. So if somebody asks them, where are you from? A Jew, okay? They're going to say America or Italy or whatever. Jew is not even a part of the identity that they express. But for me, being a Jew is central to who I am. The fact that that doesn't even come into the rhetoric of like me identifying, and we know that like Judaism is not just a religion. We know it's an ethnicity. It's
Ethno-religion.
Ethno-religion, or however you want to use technical philosophical terms for it. So it is something that's deeper than just something I adhere to. It is my being. It is who I am. So someone asks, "What are you?" I'm a Jew.
Yeah, but she didn't say, "What are you?" She said, "Where are you
Where
from?"
Are you from? Okay.
What are you is a different animal.
And as a Jew, where am I from?
But see, I don't know if I agree with that. I just don't know if I agree with that.
I'm not going to walk around necessarily saying I'm from Israel now, but I'm just...
Like, is someone that you meet on the street going to tell you, I don't know, I think the beauty... Okay, here's my thinking. I think the beauty of who we are and what we bring to the table as Jews is that we're so diverse. True. We don't come from one place. We don't live in one place. We're everywhere. We're everywhere, and that's the beauty of who we are. The reason why Israel is the startup nation is because people from all over the world, and it's not the only reason, obviously, like the chutzpah and the fact that people in Israel have a different approach to go after what they want, and that tenacity, that's a big part of it. But also the reason why Israel is so young and still an incredible place with so many advancements, technology, medicine, culturally, everything that you could possibly think of. It's such a young country, and yet it achieved so much in such a short period of time is because we have that diversity, and it's like a cocktail of all the best parts of us from everywhere around the world, from Europe, from Spain, from all the Middle Eastern countries that kicked us out, right? All like the Sephardi Jews that we were talking about. All of these people brought the best parts of all of these things, the cooking, the food, like all of these things, and put it into a melting pot and created this incredible thing. And saying and like kind of pushing that side off, you're negating that part that makes us also diverse and also special and also, makes us who we are. The fact that you grew up in Great Neck and I grew up in Israel and then came to New York, and the fact that, my friend who grew up in France and then comes, and we all come to Israel, and that's where we connect. But we still have, we still have those experiences of where we come from, and we bring those experiences to the table. And that's what makes us unique.
So you're saying don't get rid of the emphasis of the fact that we are all from our different backgrounds, different places and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't think you have to negate one in order to make the other true.
Right. I don't think I was looking at it as a negation. Is negation a word? As negating. I think I was looking at more as like just where are we putting the emphasis? But you're saying that by putting the emphasis on just being from Israel per se or a Jew per se, so then just automatically you're like whitewashing and losing all the undercurrents of who we are and the differences and what we bring to the table. I can hear it.
Listen, the way that I think about it is, I always think of this example. Golda Meir in 1948, when the war was happening in Israel with the Arabs, right? The revolt of the Arabs and all of that. There was extreme terrorism, and the Jewish agency needed to get money. Right? They thought they were going to get like $7-8 million for the cause. Golda Meir ended up coming to the U.S. and speaking to the Jews in the U.S. who had a lot more funds, right? Who had a lot more resources, and was able to raise more than $30 million. And because of that trip, Israel was able to win that war and to be able to, right? So it's you can't negate the resources and the value that exist all over the world. Israel is always going to be an anchor. Israel is always going to be our homeland. Israel is always going to be holy. It's always going to be our soul and ours, the indigenous people of Israel, okay? The Jews. You can't argue with that.
Right.
But at the same time, you can't negate everything else. It's not...
So I have to just say, Sal, it's like crazy. I think since I started this project, these conversations, it's like every week I come to like a different conclusion. I'm like, okay, I think we do this because like it's time, like we got to get everyone back home. And then like the next day, like today, I happen to have this conversation and one before. Both of them are just centered on the fact of like, and I did a whole conversation with my father last week, and like the whole conversation from a very valid perspective was about like, we need to be strong wherever we are, not to prove ourselves, not to win everyone over, but because that is our job.
Right.
And like, it's just like a very trippy internal dialogue that I'm going through of like, there's one party that just wants the answer to be like, let's all go to Israel and I will help everybody find their way. And then another party is like,
is it you're going to be the leader of the people? Like saying, you're the Moses.
I had like the most lame, like, I almost feel like it needs to happen again. I made Aliyah on COVID and like, I got off the plane. There was literally not a soul in the airport. And there was like, if anyone has watched, there's like these Nefesh for Nefesh videos where you get off the plane and like waving flags and there's like a band.
Nobody.
There was one lady saying like a white printed out piece of paper, Olim, like new immigrants. And I was just like, this is, and then we just sat in the middle of an empty Ben Gurion airport. And like, we're welcome to Israel. You're now going to spend 2 weeks alone in an apartment. Wow. So anyways, maybe that's part of why I'm like trying to redo the Aliyah thing. No, but anyway, I was just to a point of, I'm struggling with it, but I can hear both angles.
Okay, let's read more.
You want to read more?
Yeah.
I think there was...
Oh, can we talk about this thing of Mashiach coming? I just don't connect to that. I can't.
Okay, we're going to take a poll. Who connects to the idea of Mashiach?
They're like, Mashiach is coming. We got to go to Israel. Okay, I don't know what that means. I don't connect to that. I'm religious and I don't connect to that.
I don't blame you.
So I can't think of what non-religious Jews think about that even more.
I think
it just doesn't. It doesn't mean anything to me.
Okay, first of all, the idea of Mashiach is, even within the religious context, it's very vague, and there's not much of it that we openly understand. Like, we don't really understand it. What I connect to, really, and this is like, you can put Israel in the picture or not, but big picture, what I connect to about Mashiach is that there would just be a clarity in the world of what is good and what is bad. Like, the clarity will finally be there. It'll finally be like, you drive on the highway and you see all the signs like, Jesus is listening. It's going to say like, Hashem is one. That's.
I feel like I already see that in New York City with all the Chabad and Mashiach is here and like.
No, that's Mashiach. Like that's Mashiach. I always heard that joke. Like Mashiach's
you
going to be like.
You don't know if that's what it's going to be.
I'm not saying actually Hashem's going to be on the screen, but like, I mean, Hashem won't be, but like, it's going to say Hashem. But like, no, with this idea, Moshiach is an idea, it's a concept. Yes, it's also translated into a person that is going to bring this concept into reality, into fruition, whatever. What is exactly going to happen? Like this person is saying, don't wait for Moshiach to come and then you're going to come to Israel because that's going to be bad. Come here and then he's going to come. How
can people say, come to Israel and then Mashiach will come? You don't know that that's what's going to happen.
You are correct. Nobody can definitively say that. There are many strong opinions that will say that, but there are many strong opinions that will say the opposite. You were with me when he interviewed Rabbi Manis Friedman. He did not say that. He said, leaving our post right now in Chutz La'aretz, in America, wherever else you are, is like telling the soldiers to come home from Gaza. That we are in our post, so we have to be doing our job. It is not our job necessarily to just pick up and go.
Well, I don't agree with that either. I don't agree with that either.
What don't you agree with?
I don't agree with making a blanket statement saying, okay, guys, it's time to go. No, we need to stay. We have to hold the fort down. I don't agree with that. I think each person has to evaluate where they are and where their most potential is going to be. Where can you do the most good? Where do you feel the most connected to your people, to your nation? If it's just to visit Israel, go do it. Like, you should. If it's to live there, go. Kol hakavod. But if it's to be here and do work here and be with your family, like maybe being with your family is how you're fulfilling your duty as a Jew. So you're going to tell someone, leave your family, no matter if you're going to be lonely in Israel. Like, you're going to live your life lonely, even though it's going to be hard for you to make friends and not have any family there. You're going to tell someone to go and live there by themselves. It doesn't, you can't blanket statement. You can't do that. And then you're going to tell someone who's like very passionate about being in Israel and working the land and they feel a soul connection to Israel and being there right now, you're going to tell them, no, keep your post here in New York. Like, you can't.
Honestly, just hearing you say that, like, so black and white, just like, it gave me like a
breath.
Energy. Do you have any more comments about Mashiach?
What?
Anything else you want to say about Mashiach?
I don't know anything about Mashiach. I just don't connect to it as a concept. Like when I think about Israel, listen, I could talk about Israel all day, but when I think about Israel, I think about my grandparents, my great grandparents who worked the land. My great grandparents were in Israel in a time where there was nothing there. It was desolate. There was nothing. There was bitzot. I don't know how you say it.
Desert? Sand?
Desert sand, but
Dirt?
also I don't know how you say it
Boulders?
in English. No, like the land was not
Weeds?
fruitful. The land was not fruitful, and they
Right.
literally put their hands in the ground and built the state from the ground up. And I think about that, and when I go back to Israel, that makes sense to me. That's my homeland. That's my people made that happen.
Right.
And my people's people also made that happen years and years ago. I connect to that more than I connect to this idea of Mashiach. I just don't.
Right. You're finding your authentic connection, which I think is the point here.
So that's what I'm saying. Like I respect that people, that's how they connect. But I think also non-religious Israelis that you talk to, they also connect to the land in that way where like we built this.
Yeah.
Our people built this. There was nothing there before. No matter how many people try to convince you otherwise, I know my grandparents, my great-grandparents, they were there. They know what was there, what not was there. Okay? And there was nothing there. We built it with our hands. Our families built it with their hands. My grandparents, my people in my own family, we defended the land. We've seen terrorism. We had to fight for what we have. So like, I connect to that more than Mashiach. You know?
Like you wanting to go there, be there, or whatever is because there is just this intrinsic connection. It's I think it's many things. It's historic, it's religious, it's idealistic in a way. Like there are many undercurrents. It's not you're not being driven by one thing per se.
No, it's not one thing. It's not one thing. But bottom line, our people. Like this is our people.
It's our place and our people.
It's our people.
He was right.
Should we keep reading?
Let's see what else we got here.
Okay. Okay, you read it.
Okay, so they said, BH, thank God, we had the merit to live in Eretz Yisrael for almost 4 years, and the amount of miracles Hashem did for us here is unreal. Also, I guess they're still living there. Mm-hmm. Truth be told, all Jews are coming back. The question is whether it's going to be through inspiration or desperation.
I don't agree with that. I don't think you're safer in Israel than you are in the U.S. I don't think that that's true. I see what goes on. And I think people, if that's how they think about it, I don't know if it's accurate. I just don't know if it's accurate. Because in Israel, our lives are threatened every day. Just the other day, yesterday, on the way to Yerushalayim, on the highway, there was a traffic jam. A couple of terrorists got out of the car and started shooting people in their car. Like, that's not safety. That's not safety. People are they're still hunting Jews down. So what makes you think you're going to be safe there and not safe somewhere else? I just don't.
The drive can't be safety.
The drive can't be safety. If you're going there and you have miracles happen to you and you feel like you're thriving and it's your place, that's incredible. And I wish that on every Jew, that they feel that same feeling. I just know that not every Jew feels that way. Not every Jew can be in that place. It can be very isolating going, even though Israel is like a community. It's a place where everybody's brothers and sisters and helps one another. And there is endless organizations and programs and, people that this is all they do. They just help people move to Israel and help them thrive and give them support and all of that. But if someone is really struggling, I don't think that they have to be in pain. I don't think they have to be in pain in order to be there. I don't think that that's what God wants from us.
No, I think for sure that's we can most definitely agree on. Like nobody should be staying there, and I've been very open about this. A lot of the reason why I came back was because it became just too challenging to not be with my family and to not have, I had to be the full support system there, but really just not to have like my core infrastructure and what to lean on. And so I can wholeheartedly get behind that, and I agree with that. I think, yeah, I'll leave it at that. Definitely
I
agree.
guess what I'm saying is, instead of doing it from a place of fear, I think there needs to be from it to be done from a place of love. Like, people's connection to Israel can't be from a place of fear. Like, oh, we don't have anywhere else to go, so let's go there.
Right.
There's something so unique and beautiful and special about Israel that it has to come from a different place. It has to be from, personally, it comes from my family history, it comes from living there, it comes from, a mixture of things. But for other people, I would highly recommend to see it from a place of love. And if it doesn't come from that place, I don't know if it's the answer. I really don't. I don't know if it's the answer. I think it should always be the land of the Jewish people. I think it's the indigenous homeland and the holy land of our people, and it needs to be ours forever. There's no doubt or question about that. Period. And any Jew who wants to go visit Israel and any Jew who wants to live there should be able to. But to say everyone needs to go, and right now, and your time is coming, I don't know.
But do you think there should be this charge to find the connection and the love?
I think each one of us, what do I know? Like, I'm not a rabbi or anything, but I feel like every Jew needs to find a connection to their essence, and our Jewish essence is anchored in Israel. So our Jewish essence is anchored in Israel. So if you don't feel a connection to Israel as a land, there's something up. Like, something's not fitting into the right place. But to say you have to live there, you have to be there full time, you have to, like, I don't know.
No connection. I'm just talking about the connection.
Definitely. Israel is where our ancestors lived for. Our whole history is in Israel. Who we are as Jews, it all begins and ends with Israel. That's why you can't separate you can't say that I'm not anti-Jewish. I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm just anti-Zionist. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. Israel is determined. It's the Jews who are self-determining their own land as the Jewish homeland and their indigenous homeland. You can't separate the two. There's a reason, like you said, there's a reason why it's called Judea, because it's the Jew. There's a reason why we're called Jews, because we're tied and connected to Judea, which is Israel, modern day. That's the modern name, Israel.
Right.
Okay, should we read this one?
I think they were.
It doesn't matter whether they should, unless and until it will happen. The Bible and the Tanakh says it will happen. But it isn't going to happen because of anything Netanyahu or any other world leader says. It will only happen when every Jewish heart worldwide is filled with an absolutely overriding desire to return. And this is not a change that humans can accomplish.
Essentially saying you're waiting for Mashiach, which we've already, kind of saying that. Saying that it's beyond our control. Whatever. But again, it's out of a place of fear. I don't connect to this thing where you have to be afraid, and that's why you have to run to Israel. Israel is so much bigger than that. There's so much more. It's so rooted in beauty and like, I don't know. It's like a soul level thing. But I think this is saying what these people are trying to communicate, how I'm interpreting it, is they're saying, yeah, exactly to your point. Because if we wait too much longer, then it will become just this place of fear and running.
Why?
It's on the premise that, like we've always been pushed out of other places, so too will be pushed out of wherever we are right now.
But that's again going into the place of fear.
That's not fear. These are two different things. Fear, we're saying, let's not drive ourselves home through fear, right? Let me not right now, Izzy, stand up here and say, I'm going to Israel because I'm afraid of America, right? I'm saying, let me go to Israel from a place of love. Mm-hmm. They're saying, yeah, we agree with you. I think we are all agreeing actually on the same premise. They're saying, but if you keep waiting, The fear is not connected to Israel. The fear is connected to, or the challenge is about what's going to happen outside of Israel. And then eventually you're going to be pushed out of wherever you are. And then, yeah, unfortunately, your connection to Israel is going to be one through fear, because you're going to be pushed out of where you are and you're going to be afraid of America, of wherever else it is that you're living in the current moment in diaspora. And you're going to be pushed through fear to Israel. They're saying don't wait for the fear factor. But the fear factor is inevitably going to come. This is the difference.
I don't understand.
The fear factor is inevitably, if we look at Jewish history, many people will say, black and white on paper, the fear factor of us being pushed out and needing somewhere to go is inevitably going to come. For thousands of years, that's what happened. We're somewhere, we make ourselves comfortable, we succeed, and we're pushed out. Yes or no?
Yes, 100%.
Point blank.
100%.
So they're saying, why are you going to wait for that to happen again? Now you have a place you can come home to, not run to. Come home. Don't wait until you have to run here and be afraid. Come home.
But who says that you're not going to be pushed out of Israel either? Who says that?
Okay, I mean, that's...
Forget about spirituality for a second, because Hashem, I mean, you and I, we know this. Hashem is always going to give Israel to the Jewish people. It's our land. Put that aside for a second, okay? Let's think about this logically. Who says you're not going to be pushed out of Israel? From 48 to 67, we didn't have the borders that we have today. Half of our land was given to somebody else. So right. Jews were still 2005, when they literally dug up graves out of Gaza, which was Jewish land that was owned by Jews, dug up their graves, tore Jews out of their homes, burned down their greenhouses. That was literally pushing Jews out.
So, okay, fine.
It doesn't protect you from it either.
I'm not saying it doesn't protect you for it, but
I don't know. I don't have the answer. I'm just thinking I need an actual argument that I can like understand. Because in my heart and my soul, I don't disagree. I think that every Jew has an anchor in Israel. It's our essence, it's our homeland, it's our indigenous homeland, it's a holy place, all of that. The thing that I have trouble with is saying, guys, come home, you're going to be pushed out, or this is going to happen to you, or, Jews are not going to have a place in America for too long because there is Hamas pro rallies in the street. Okay, but Jews are also dying in Israel, and they're being murdered, and babies are beheaded, and all these things happened, and so I can't, it doesn't make sense to me. But when you tell me, connect to your essence, connect to Israel, because it's your soul, because it's your people, because your grandparents dug their hands in the ground and built this place from scratch. Your grandfather protected this with his body, with everything that he has. So that, like my roots, that means more to me than saying things like that. And if it's my roots and it's my essence and it's my soul, then you can go back and forth. You can go back and forth. You can be in two places. And some people need to be in that constantly. They need to be in that anchor constantly, and that's where they're meant to be. But some people, it's not what they need to do. It's not their place. They don't thrive in that space. So what are you going to do? Tell them you have to do this anyways?
No, I think where I'm going back to is now you have to do it anyways. Well, maybe that's the end goal. Inevitably, it might end up being where we're going to, not even because it'll be the safest, but it's just going to be like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to think about. I also think about my grandparents. If my grandparents were alive and I could ask them what they thought, I should have asked them when they were alive, and I didn't. But what would they have to say about Jews who are living in the U.S.? Would they think about it from a safety point of view, of them seeing the Holocaust happening again, of these pro-Hamas rallies happening? Like, would they say, okay, run? Or I
mean, Holocaust survivors are saying it's a carbon copy of what was happening.
I know.
Black and white on paper, the exact rhetoric. I interviewed someone today. She's an immigrant from Iran. She herself escaped through Pakistan to Iran. Okay?
Yeah.
But she wasn't saying pick up and go to Israel. That wasn't her answer at all. But like, she also saw she said it was the exact same rhetoric.
Yeah, but then I think about would they still have said the same thing after October 7th? None of my grandparents are still alive.
I mean,
And
after seeing, but they witnessed other things. They witnessed dying to build the state. Like that was part of it. Like again, that goes into the question of like, okay, are we doing this from a place of like we're safer? Like,
yeah, but October 7th was a Holocaust, and it happened in Israel.
Okay,
it didn't happen in the U.S. So
correct.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if they would think about that the same way after October 7th.
Of Israel being the place to go because it's ours and it'll always be ours. And it'll protect us.
No.
That it'll protect us. That will be protected.
That it's the safest place. I don't think it's the safest place. Any Israeli you speak to will tell you it's not the safest place.
But the difference there.
Israelis leave their house every day vigilant and looking around them and constantly trying to understand who's gonna,
Correct. But at the end of the day, at least there, to an extent, you know what you're fighting against.
Can I suggest something?
Yeah.
Israel is a place where our essence is protected, not our physical bodies. It's not about being safe physically. It's about being safe as a people, as a nation. I think that's what it is. Okay.
Unpack that. Go.
No, but you know what I'm saying?
Serious.
Because physical safety, it's not safe physically. It's not. It's just not. Like Israelis have to struggle and Israelis have to fight. And there's Jews who live on the border in Sderot. The kids grow up getting used to the sirens and running into bomb shelters. It's a normal existence for them. So being safe in your body, I don't think so. Which is an argument that many people use. Say this is the second Holocaust, run because you're not going to be safe. I don't know.
It's interesting. When I can connect to that very much because when I was making Aliyah, my mom looked at me. I tend to be like a little more like the scared type. I'm not like such a bold person, right? I'm not about to go like fight in the IDF, although I did have the thought at one point, but it was never going to practically happen. But she's like, Israel, come on, you're going to go move to a place that's like constantly at war at random points in time. And like, whatever you're afraid of, like, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
And I said, and I meant it, and I still mean it. And I think it's kind of where you're coming at from this. I said, I'd rather be somewhere where I'm fighting the good fight, not the good fight, there's the fight that I connect with, that I identify to, like like your ancestors being there, your grandparents building a land, fighting the fight for what they connect to, and be somewhere fighting a fight that I don't connect to at all. Like I'm in America, like this was 3 years ago, and there was all the riots happening in America and Black Lives Matter and all this stuff, and it was so disturbing to me, like what the whole rhetoric and what was happening. And I was like, this is not a fight that I want to dig my teeth into. I want to be on the front lines of the fight that I connect to.
Yeah, but why can't you be in the fight from here?
Well, in terms of like, let's just say like both places were going to be unsafe, right? We're going to say like physical safety wise, like whether I'm here or whether I'm in Israel, physical safety, not promised. Okay. Anyways, all that's up to God. Yeah. If I'm really going to be a believing Jew here. So I should really drop the whole rhetoric. Okay. Physically going to be safe. I'm being serious.
Yeah, but that doesn't speak to everyone. So
okay, no, but I'm being harsh with myself because I'm someone who's a believing Jew. And if I'm a believing Jew, then I have to believe that where I'm put and placed, and I feel like I'm in the right place, that's where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
So doing this accounting of where I'm safer or whatever, that's negating the fact that I trust that I'm taken to where I need to be.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I believe this is where I'm supposed to be, so this is where I'm supposed to be, doesn't matter. I can't think about the future. I put a thing on, a reminder on my phone. It says, faith is not trying to figure out what's the next thing. Faith is just being in where you are. And I butchered this statement a little bit, but something along those lines.
I got that.
Anyway, what I was saying was, let's say safety wise, both here and there, unsafe, I don't know, anything can happen. So I'm still in a way, it's like I'm fighting something, right? Like here today, I feel like I am fighting something. I'm kind of like waiting for something weird to like kind of happen at any moment. Like, I don't know, it feels wonky. Like,
but do you think that if you were in Israel, you could do more than what you're doing here?
No, which is why I'm trusting that I'm where I'm supposed to be. But yeah, I mean, at least for right now. But I had a question. I had a thought.
Okay.
I had the thought of like, okay, maybe I'm brought back here because like, gotta come here, rally the troops. Like, let's go.
Moses.
Not
We're going to call you Moses Sakai.
Not Moses. Like, I don't know, like maybe I need to come back here to put, like, all joking aside, maybe I need to come back here to like really connect to why I wanted to be there, because it was getting hard for me to connect being there. Like, I almost thought it was almost like, maybe I need to like go out to tap back in. You know
and
what I
do
mean?
you feel now? What do you think now when you're here? And you've
okay,
gone through all of that.
I haven't said it on camera, but I'll say it on camera. I feel no connections going back to Israel right now.
Okay.
I feel very, much as I feel unsettled here, I feel very rooted here in like what I'm doing, what has been happening in my life, what it's like with my family, my circles, my friends. Like it's painful because like I had this like nagging feeling in my mind, like I had like so much there also. But
can I also say what you do right now, what you're doing right now on college campuses and what you're involved with, maybe you want to share that. I don't know if you do, but the work that you're doing now on college campuses, you couldn't be doing that in Israel. Some people can do more in other places than what they can do there. All I wanted to do after October 7th was go to Israel, volunteer on the farms, feed soldiers, give them strength, be with my family who I had cousins who were injured. I had friends who were in Gaza. All I wanted to do was be there, but I was called into action. I went into action.
She hasn't stopped, by the way.
Okay. I went into action and there were things that had to be done and I could do more here than what I could do there. And with that being said, there were people on the ground that they were taking care of the soldiers. They were taking care of all the people, all the families who were harmed on October 7th. We needed those people. They had to be there because that was their job and that was how they helped the most. And if we didn't have them, if we didn't have the people in Israel who were doing that, it wouldn't be good. But at the same time, we also need the people in the other places doing their job and what their potential is. So like, is my power, is the way that I can help the most or I can connect the most to Israel right now, being on a farm in Israel picking oranges, or is it doing hasbara, advocacy in the US and helping the world understand the disgusting propaganda that Hamas has spread across the world and help them see the truth? Where is it stronger? Where is it? Where do they need my help more? Like where can I contribute?
So can I tell you something that I contend with a lot, which you're definitely not going to agree with. And I don't know if I agree with anymore, but I very much for a long time, especially while I was living in Israel, held on to this like, all right, like what's the point of that fight? Like just drop it. Like fighting the anti-Semitism, fighting the rhetoric, like all these things. Like once again, if we look at our history for thousands of years, we just always end up in the same pattern. But so I knew you weren't going to agree with this thing. The devil's advocate that I'll play back to myself is that the difference today is that it is, I think, the first time that we are really using our voice, like in such a profound way. And that's like a main distinction and why we can't maybe necessarily just look at like history. Like we have to like, okay, look at history, see what happened and see what we're going to do different. And we are kind of doing things different. But I still have a moment of like, I don't know, like I'm standing on a college campus and I'm like, they're just so loud and they're just so that. But then I have moments when I'm like, okay.
Well, I do have to tell you that there are certain individuals who have been in this fight for many, many years. There are certain individuals who came up who started becoming advocates on October 7th, who've taken a stand, and you see more and more of them. But there's people who have been fighting this fight for years and years. And you don't see in the work that these advocates have done and continue to do, you don't see the results right away. But if you look at the tally of all the years, okay, the big picture, every single advocacy mission, every single post, every single conversation, every single interview, every single action that these people have done and continue to do, it makes a huge difference. Because I can tell you that I started getting into the world of advocacy during Tzuk Eitan. Because in Tzuk Eitan, which was 2015, I think it was, when was Tzuk Eitan? I'm not sure about I think 2015, whenever it was.
Right.
I got into advocacy during that time. And I can tell you that the world was a lot more hostile and a lot more unforgiving then than it is now.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
No, it is. It's a very bold statement. And there is no denying that on college campuses there is tremendous hatred and there is tremendous rhetoric that is so violent and so unjust and untrue that it's terrifying. It's really terrifying. But you have to also consider the fact that it's gotten better throughout the years. October 7th was specifically orchestrated by terrorism on digital, they call it the digital intifada, right? So there wasn't just the October 7th massacre that happened on the ground. It was a planned digital intifada where basically they massacred Jews in the media. And this is literally spreading lies. After what happened in the hospital bombing, which was a Islamic jihad rocket, and then the New York Times, which is supposed to be a journalistic enterprise,
Let's just put all of that.
Yeah. So putting all of that aside and seeing the big picture instead of just what we're seeing now in this big wave of after October 7th, I'm telling you, from what was then to what is now, there's so many more advocates. There's so much more truth being spread. Israel hasn't done the best job that it can with advocacy. They're getting there. And people are understanding that it's not just online, that it's also in personal conversations. So yes, the hatred and the violence and the digital intifada is loud. It's very loud. But if you look at the world and where the world stands, forget about the UN because it's not a legitimate institution, and we know that they're backed by terrorism, and UNRWA is just a testament to that. So let's leave that on the side. But the world sees Israel for what it is. They see the truth, and it hasn't always been like that. It hasn't always been like that. And the mass population, most of the young people are against Israel, right? Like between the ages of 18 to 24 and younger.
Are against?
Against. They believe that the way to end this war is hand Israel over to Hamas. Like, are you guys insane?
Well, right. I don't know if it means it translates. I doubt most of them, if you ask them, are you against Israel, if they would translate that notion. Like,
handing Israel over to Hamas means you're against Israel.
Right, but I'm saying because of their ignorance, they don't actually process it like that. If you then said to them, you realize that means that you're handing over, you basically don't believe in the existence of Israel and the state of for the Jewish people.
I don't know who you're talking to, but the people that are chanting from the river to the sea, they know what they're chanting. They don't know which river or which sea, but they know that they're saying that they think Hamas needs to take over Israel, that they should be in charge of the land there.
But the question is, why do they think that? Because they empathize with this entity. That, by the way, I am not.
Yeah, but they're loud. Hold on.
I'm not empathizing with these people. I think they're stupid. But I'm just saying that's the point. It's just pure ignorance. Like,
they're not stupid. They're brainwashed.
Whatever you want to plug in.
It's a death. Hamas is a death cult. Islamic Jihad is a death cult. These people are brainwashed. They're in a cult.
But that's my point. I'm saying the majority of people. I'm just bringing it back to humanity. Unfortunately, actually could be in a much better place if people just had brains that they used.
Yeah,
that's the issue that we're talking about here, right? People are
there's no critical thinking.
Right? They don't. Right. They don't actually understand. You're saying they understand what they're saying. Yes, they understand it, and they translate that to Hamas should take over Israel, but they don't actually know what it means for Hamas to take over Israel. They don't actually know that means that Hamas is then also taking over them. They don't get that.
No, you're saying Western civilization as a whole. No, that they don't get. That they don't get. No. They don't know all these queers for Palestine who are screaming like free Palestine. Do you know what would happen to you if you stepped foot in any of these places that cultivate this ideology? Do you know what would happen to you? You're literally screaming, save these serial killers. That's what you're doing. You're saying, let the serial killers take over the government. That's what you're saying. Okay, but let's take it back for a second because we steered off topic. My point is that they're very loud and it seems like they're winning. But behind the scenes, we're just getting better and better and better. There's more advocates, more people are standing up, more conversations. I would say, I don't know if I can say this like factually, because I don't know if I could say this factually, but I think that most intelligent people, most older people, they support Israel because they understand what is going on, and we've done the right work to help them understand that. We've educated them. And if you look at Tzuk Eitan, what happened in Tzuk Eitan versus what's happening now, the conversation is different. There's more facts. There's more truth being, there's more, like, we're fighting the battle online and then also on the ground. And that makes a difference. All these small actions make a difference. The conversations that I have in the elevator with someone who's going up with me to the 5th floor, like, it makes a difference because they're going to talk to somebody else, and then maybe that's going to help them see things in a different way. And more people are doing that. More people are engaging in those conversations and in that advocacy work.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing, and I don't remember how we got into it. I don't know what the question was.
It doesn't really matter. It really doesn't matter. I wanted to ask you, like, forget about the comments for a second.
Yeah.
Do you, like, just point blank, because I think we've in some ways had this conversation.
Yeah.
Do you think there is a future? Like, we're talking about right here, today and now. Let's do our job where we are, where we need to be. Understand where your role is strongest, where you can, have the strongest role as a Jew, as a person contributing to society, and run with that. If it's America, if it's Europe, it's Israel, whatever it is, listen to yourself and go forward with that. That being said, do you see a future for, I'm going to ask you for Jews in particular in the diaspora? Do you connect to that reality?
What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
You see a future?
Like you're saying, do you see a future? Right now is the future. Like, I'm living my life right now. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, I don't, that goes back again to me. Like, what that sounds to me, are you afraid that you're not going to have a future in the U.S. because someone's going to come and kill you?
As I was asking it.
Like that, it just goes back to the fear thing. I don't connect with that idea. I don't. I remember what it's like running into a bomb shelter when I was a kid. And that was in Israel. Like, when I go back to Israel, it's not because I think it's more safe. It's because I know that that's where my essence and where I need to be. That's it. It's not connected to the fear aspect. It's not connected to the safety aspect.
So big picture for you. It's like, just live in the here and the now. Do what you need to do.
Yeah, and connect to your essence. No matter if you're a Jew, connect to who you are in your essence, in your people, your nation, your peoplehood. Like, connect to Israel as the indigenous land that made you who you are, of your ancestors.
Now, as you're saying, I'm even thinking that, like, there's definitely a job, I think, also for Israelis to do right now in terms of, like, really connecting.
Definitely.
And by the way, they're in a very challenging situation.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can't judge. That.
Yeah. No, not to judge, but just to say, like, I think for our generation of Israelis, like our peers who grew up in Israel, or at least, let's say, third generation or something, to have that connection we're talking about that your grandparents had, it's not a given. Like,
no,
for a lot of them, like, first of all, they were just, it's like they didn't choose it. They were just born into it. It meant having to serve in the army. It meant having to be under constant fear and all of these things. And for them to actually have a natural, authentic connection is probably, I would imagine, for a lot, quite challenging. I mean, you have many people that are, thank God, grew up there and have the strong identity connection, but I would imagine many don't, and understandably so. So this
connects to something bigger, and I don't know if we want to get into this, but I think also in Israel, there are a lot of Israelis who don't connect to their Judaism. I'm not talking about religion. Forget about religion. I'm saying as a Jew, like who you are as a Jew. There's people who don't necessarily connect to that. So I think there needs to be a re-education in Israel. I'm not, I don't think it has to be a religious thing. I just think it has to be the connection of who we are to our essence. So in that, I hear what you're saying. But yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, if you're not religious, it's like, I don't know.
No, there was a beautiful video that came out of this woman. I don't know if she's
Galit. She's a Chaveret Knesset,
Yeah.
She was the advocacy minister before, like prior. Okay, never mind.
Okay, no. So whatever. I didn't watch the full thing, but in essence, she was kind of saying what you're saying. I don't know if she touched on the needing to educate Israeli children religiously, but she was saying that there's been this element of like the Jewish piece that's just been lost in the Israeli education system.
Because we're very modernized, and because we're very we've had to like quickly make this incredible thing that it is and thrive, and it is very modern. So there is that disconnection. But yeah.
Actually, I do want to read this one.
Okay, read
one
it.
bit here. It said, I'm just going to read the last part. Some will do it by themselves. Oh, here, absolutely. The captain should be the last person on the sinking ship, as in leadership, let's say, of the diaspora, as he organizes the mass emergency Aliyah of all Jews. Okay? Some will do it I want to emphasize the last part here. Some will do it by themselves, but many need spiritual and practical leadership and assistance. Every day there's a voice from heaven that calls out, Lech lecha me'artzecha, the same call to Avraham Avinu, go to yourself from your country. Jews have to listen and act. Now, just something that hit me very hard when I decided to leave Israel after making Aliyah was this exact pasuk, this phrase from the Torah. Mm-hmm. Hashem did tell Avraham Avinu, okay, we believe, right? Our forefather, the OG Jew, was told, go to this place, go to Israel. Mm-hmm. But he was subsequently also told to leave. Mm. And that to me was such an affirmation of like what we're speaking about, that like he was told, go to your land, but then he was asked to leave. He was pushed out, actually, in a way. Yeah. So, which is Hashem telling him to leave. Pushed out, being told, whatever. So like, we can always choose to just see like the piece of the story that we want to, like here, Lech lecha me'artzecha, go to yourself from your country to this land. But then, wait, let's like finish the storyline. There was much more that came after that, and he was actually told subsequently to leave once again. So how do you reconcile that?
Well, this takes me back to what I was saying in the beginning, is that Israel doesn't represent safety of your body, it represents safety of your essence and your soul and who we are as a people. So go back to your country can also be connect to your soul and your spirituality, and Israel is your essence and your people, the Jewish people. Because Israel represents the Jewish people. So if you tell someone, connect to Israel by going there, okay. But if you tell someone, connect to Israel because that's the essence of the Jewish people and your nation and your soul, that to me is what it means. And it doesn't mean you're religious. It just means like that's your essence. That's your people, the Jewish people. Yeah. It didn't matter in the Holocaust. It didn't matter if someone was religious or not religious, or wore a skirt, or thought about, whatever, lit candles on Shabbat. Then you were a Jew. You were in the same pool. If the Nazis understood it, why can't we? They didn't see a divide between us. They understood that if you were a Jew, you were a Jew. And I think that that's what Israel represents. Not that it's a safe haven, but that it represents our essence, because we're all connected in our.
There's an underlying thread.
Yeah.
We don't. Yeah. I mean, you feel that, and I felt this. Like I was away in a very random place, and I was like waiting to get on the plane, like on the tarmac. Mm-hmm. And I always do this weird thing where like I'm like looking for Jews, especially when I'm in like an unfamiliar place. Like it just makes me feel really comforted. So I'm like standing there, like staring down every passenger that comes off the other plane, looking for the Jews. And there was a few that were obviously Jewish. And then one woman was wearing like her star, and I was wearing my star, and she could tell, like me, my sister, my brother-in-law, she could tell that we were like Jews, whatever. Yeah. And she literally just looked at me. Like sometimes you just smile at each other. Yeah. But she looked at me and she's like, hi. And I was like, oh my God, like we don't know each other, but hi. It was like,
but you feel
like out loud, she said hi. And I could tell like I wanted to say hi, and she just like, could read my mind almost. And it was like the nice thing. And she just kept walking. Like there was no, like nothing else transpired. And I was just like, that is a crazy. Okay. I just also want to flag that it's.
You what?
I just want to make sure you're good with timing.
Yeah.
Tell me how you want to.
It's fine. Okay, you want to do one more?
Yeah. Okay. Let's see what.
Can we not do a moshiach one?
No.
Okay.
Hold on.
Do you want to do this one?
Yeah, because it's a whole other angle. We'll get there. Okay.
You want me to read this? Or you want to read it?
Yeah, you read it.
Okay, so this person said, if it wasn't so expensive and difficult to work there, I had to leave 14 years ago and I wish I could go back, but it seems impossible to survive there.
Which, by the way, this is not a unique circumstance. Like, we don't really publicize the amount of people that leave after making Aliyah, but there's quite high numbers, and I don't know about high, but this is not a unique situation, and I know people that went to Israel with all their heart and all their soul and believed in it like there's no tomorrow, and it is if the land spit them out.
Yeah.
How do you reconcile that?
I mean, I know what my family would say, my family in Israel would say. They would say, like, would you rather be comfortable or would you rather do the right thing? But I don't think I agree with that. I don't agree with that. I don't think people need to. If this person was literally suffering, and was living in poverty and couldn't find themselves and was lonely, I don't think it's the right place for them. I just don't. As long as they have a connection to their essence, again, in the land of Israel, I don't think that you have to spend your life in a place of roughness, of a harshness. Like, it's just not, it's not what God wants from us. I don't think that's what God wants from us. I don't think God wants us to live in turmoil. I think God wants, like, what makes us, and we do have to be, like, uncomfortable, right? Like, there's certain types of uncomfortabilities that we have to live with in order to achieve great things. Like, anything that's great, you have to do things that are uncomfortable for you. Even like going to the gym. You want to be strong, you go to the gym because you know that it makes you strong and healthy, and but at the same time, if you're going to the gym and you're throwing up and you're pushing yourself to a place where after you go to the gym, you're going to be in bed for 3 days and not be able to move, are you really doing something that's benefiting you? I don't think so.
Great analogy.
Again, I take it back to Golda Meir. Like, I take it back to her. She got $30 million, and the people who were in the U.S. were able to give her that money for the war. Exactly, because of the success that they had here. I'm not saying you can't you can be very successful in Israel.
No. I mean, I hear it. I guess where I struggle with that is maybe this is like not a fair blanket statement, but like, or I guess the question is, can you honestly say to yourself, like, we're sitting here, we're saying, wherever you're going to be, make sure that you're there with a purpose.
Yeah.
I think that's what we can wholeheartedly agree on. That is what we're saying. So if you're here and it really is that you're just here and you're, because, it's been comfortable and good and it's just given you, whatever. Like, that is where I get like a little like, okay, no, like that's not enough. Like, you need to be like, I don't know if this is right, but like, you need to be like, you're saying be uncomfortable. So if you're just comfortable here, then I'm like, all right, so might as well go be comfortable over there. Like, don't just like chill out here.
Yeah, but it's more than that. I mean, every case is different. People have complex lives. Human beings are complex. It's not.
I think I'm very simple.
You can't. What?
I think I'm very simple. I'm not. For the record.
No, but I'm saying, like, love you, Iz. I'm saying, like, people have different types of situations. You don't know that that's what's going to be right for everyone, and that's the uncomfortability that they need in their life, or that's how they connect to themselves as a Jew and to their essence if they move to Israel. You don't know that that's true. You just don't know. You don't know family ties. You don't know. There's so many things that go into consideration, even the financials, but also like family and friends, and there's just so much. There's so much that go into this, but I think the bottom line is, if you want to like bring it back to the connection to Israel, it's something that I think every Jew needs to figure out their essence with. Like, if you don't feel a connection to Israel, there's something off. There's something not not right, because it's the essence of all of us. So if you think about it that way, you can connect to Israel in different ways, whether it's living there, whether it's supporting it, whether it's, learning, whether it's connecting with other Jews, whatever it is, however it is that you connect to it. I think it has to be unique to you. At the same time, I think also the people who purposely make Aliyah and help others make Aliyah, we need them too. We need those people too.
Everyone has their mission.
Yeah, everyone has their mission. So we need both. We need the people that feel that urge and that, like, that's my homeland, that's my people, that's where my essence is. We need those people, and we need them to move there and to thrive there and to bring their beautiful brains and everything that they brought from across the world into Israel so that it continues being the thriving place that it is. But then we also need the Jews in the other places doing what they're doing and contributing how they're contributing and connecting how they're connecting. I don't think one takes away from the other.
And so I'm going to make a pitch for you. If you need help finding your purpose,
don't come to
Ester's
me.
number is 589-772.
Don't come to me.
Okay. No, but seriously, this gave me a lot of, it was very helpful to have a platform to ask my questions in like a real way, because I think there's some of the questions I shy away from asking and to get real answers, and I very much appreciate it.
I don't know if I didn't give you answers.
By the way,
I'm just like thinking through this with you. I don't have answers.
There's no like right or wrong answer. They were your answers, but they bring out a certain truth. It's your truth that is revealing a certain truth that the world needs to hear. The same thing with what I'm saying and I'm commenting on. It's not, I was right, you were wrong, I had the answer, you didn't have the answer. That's, I think, just what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was saying something off the record, but I'm going to say it on the record. So I was just saying to Esther that she was really helping me process, and that I've had this like constant inner turmoil the past 4 or 5 months since coming back, where like it's really sometimes been like every other week, or like, I don't know how often, where I'm just like, oh my God, like I got to get out of here. Like I got to go. Like book my flight on LL. I've like held tickets on LL. I'm like, we're going to have to go. And like every time I have conversations like this, it just gives me like I can breathe, in the sense of like realigning of like, just trust where you are. And like, it doesn't like stop trying to figure it out. And like, you're going to, the same way I was very clear to me, and not from a cheesy place, but like, it was just very clear, like, okay, now this is where you're supposed to be. So just trust this is where you're supposed to be. And stop trying to know what's the next thing, how it's going to happen, being afraid. Also the fear part, like you really like, I need to like hear that 700 times over, like stop with the fear. Like
you remember in the last, I think it was Shomer HaChomot, I came to Israel, and the first siren in 2021, the first siren that went off, we were in like a barbecue with a lot of Americans, and I think I was like one of the only Israelis there, and the sirens went off, and I'm like, everyone was freaking out. I'm like, guys, calm down. This happens every single day. Like, it's not.
Well, for the record, we were in Jerusalem, which is not so common.
Yeah,
for it to
that's
happen,
true.
So
that's true.
It's a bigger deal.
Yeah.
But oh my God, like the fear that went through my veins in that moment.
All right.
The same thing I mean, whatever. It's not clear, but like,
So the fear is there too. It's not.
The fear I felt living in Israel, like what it elicited for me at points, was stronger probably than what I think I felt anywhere else.
Yeah.
So it's just reminding me, ground myself in the present, where you are. It's just good life lessons, kids. Just write these down.
We sound like old maidens.
Yeah, I know. Whatever. Life's taking its toll. Okay. Now for real. I'm sure I'm going to end it again, and something else is going to come up.
Okay.
But, yeah.
You want to take a second?
No, I mean, I think that was a bit. Like, I just want to find a way of like trusting that I am where I'm supposed to be, and like, I don't think I must much else to say. I mean, this is separate. This is like not separate from, but like a much bigger conversation from just like Israel, like being America, being Israel, but like I'm also a very black and white person. Like I like to know like this is the right thing to do. So when I made Aliyah, it was like so clear to me. Like the whole time I lived in Israel, okay, this is like, I don't think I've said this on the record either, but like I used to look at people that didn't live there, and I was like, first of all, sucks to be you. And second of all, like, what is wrong with you? Like, are we all in the same, like, are you living the same world I'm living in? Like, I don't know why in a million years you'd want to live anywhere besides Israel.
Yeah.
I'm saying that Jews in particular. I mean, other people too. Israel's a great place. Like, come check it out. But like, as a Jew, like, why do you want to be anywhere else? And like, I used to see tourists, and I'd be like, miskenim, like poor things, like terrible. But that was just for whatever reason. I had such a strong, it was like black and white to me.
Yeah.
Like, why would you even consider being anywhere else? Why try? Like, you have this place, just come. It's here. It's thriving. So now that like I had such a clear instinct, understanding of leaving, but I used to think like that, it's like,
what led you to that place? Because that's something I don't know. What
of it being so black and white to live there?
Like, did it just like one day it was like black and white?
I was just having like crazy deja vu because I actually remember, I think we sat here like 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, we did.
And I was talking about this project, not knowing what to do with it. And we just kept saying, we do things. And we have done like a few combos before, but I feel like this is like, we got to like really get into it today. And I
So
appreciate it. And hopefully there'll be a part 2 if you'll take me up on it.
Yeah.
We'll see what the
We got to
audience
get a
has
bit
to
more
say.
spicy.
Oh no, we're going to get spicy.
We're going to get very spicy.
If there's certain questions you want us to hit on, let us know. And yeah, any final parting words?
I love Israel. I'm a Zionist.
I'm Yisrael. Hi.
I'm Israel. Hi.
Thanks for listening to another episode of My Israel Narrative. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow along and subscribe. Until next time, I'm Yisrael Chai.